represent here, and has a parish model which will directly put money in the pockets of the 3.2 million households who live in subsistence economy, and will continue to strengthen the security and maintain peace, and expand infrastructure, and generate more energy, which is a catalyst for industrialization. I beg to move.
Thank you very much. Does our committee have a report?
Madam Speaker, I beg to present the report of the Committee on Budget on the Appropriation Bill 2021. Right Honourable Speaker and Honourable Members, on 1st April 2021, the Appropriation Bill 2021 was read for the first time and subsequently referred to the Committee on Budget for consideration. In accordance with Rule 173C, the committee considered the bill and reports as follows. Methodology: the committee held consultative meetings with the Minister of Finance, Planning and Economic Development and examined the bill to ascertain the consistency and accuracy of the estimates as indicated in the schedule to the appropriation bill against the resolution by Parliament on the same. The object of the bill is to provide for the authorization of public expenditure out of the consolidated fund of a sum of 27,620,796,363,000 shillings only, and to withdraw of funds from the petroleum fund into the consolidated fund a sum of 200 billion shillings only to meet expenditure for the financial year 2021-2022 and to appropriate the supplies granted. And we are moving under the following legal framework. Article 1561 provides that the heads of expenditure contained in the estimates, other than expenditure charged on the consolidated fund by the Constitution or any Act of Parliament, shall be included in a bill to be known as an appropriation bill, which shall be introduced into Parliament to provide for the issue from the consolidated fund and the sums necessary to meet that expenditure and the appropriation of those sums for the purposes specified in the bill. End of quote. Additionally, under Section 14(1) of the Public Finance Management Act, Parliament shall by the 31st day of May of each year consider and approve the annual budget and the work plan of government for the next financial year, the appropriation bill, and any other bill that may be necessary to implement the annual budget. Section 58 of the Public Finance Management Act 2015 provides that withdrawals from the petroleum fund shall only be made under authority granted by an appropriation act and a warrant of the Auditor General. A, to the consolidated fund to support the annual budget, and B, to the Petroleum Revenue Investment Reserve for investment to be undertaken in accordance with Section 63. Section 59(3) of the PFMA 2015 provides that petroleum revenues shall be used for the financing of infrastructure and development projects of government, and not the recurrent expenditure of government. Observations of the committee. Right Honourable Speaker and members, Parliament on 7th May 2021 considered and approved the estimates of revenues and expenditure of government for the financial year 2021-2022. Subsequently, in accordance with Rule 173 of the Rules of Procedure, the committee has examined each vote together with its corresponding figures indicated in the schedule to the bill and finds that there are several inconsistencies with the approved estimates. The committee therefore recommends that the figures as allocated per vote in the schedule to the bill should be replaced with the figures per vote as supplied by Parliament and contained in the resolution of Parliament dated 7th May 2021. The resolution of Parliament is here too attached. The committee recommends that the Appropriation Bill 2021 be passed into law, subject to the proposed amendment. Madam Speaker, we shall move the amendments when we go to the committee stage. I beg to submit.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair of the Budget Committee, for your report. If there are no comments, can I put the question? Members, I put the question that the question be put. Those in favor say aye, the contrary no. Ayes have it. I put the question that the appropriation bill be read for second time. Those in favor say aye, the contrary no. Ayes have it.
The Appropriations Bill 2021, Bills Committee stage. Clause 1.
Honourable members, I put the question that clause 1 do stand part of the bill. Those in favor say aye, the contrary no. Ayes have it.
Clause 2.
Clause 2, Honourable Chair. Yes, Honourable Chair, you have an amendment.
Madam Chair, I'm proposing an amendment to clause 2 regarding the issue of money out of the consolidated fund. And I propose to substitute for the entire clause the following. 2, issue of money out of the consolidated fund. The Treasury may issue out of the consolidated fund and apply toward the supply granted to the government for the service of the year ending on 30th June 2022, the sum of 27 trillion 620 billion 796 million and 363,000 shillings only. I beg to move.
Honourable members, I put the question. Clause 2 be amended as proposed. Those in favor say aye, the contrary no. Ayes have it.
Clause 2 as amended.
Put the question that clause 2 as amended do stand part of the bill. Those in favor say aye, the contrary no. Ayes have it.
Clause 3.
Clause 3, put the question that clause 3 do stand part of the bill. Those in favor say aye, the contrary no. Ayes have it.
Clause 4.
Put the question that clause 4 do stand part of the bill. Those in favor say aye, the contrary no. Ayes have it.
Clause 5.
Put the question clause 5 do stand part of the bill. Those in favor say aye, the contrary no. Ayes have it.
Schedule.
Members, I put the question that the schedule. Yes, Honourable Chair.
Madam Chair, I'm proposing an amendment to the schedule, and the proposal is to replace column 2 of the schedule with the following figures as indicated per vote. Madam Speaker, I believe that this schedule is available to all the members, but it is all contained in the report of the committee. Right from for all the votes in the government, and it comprises on the one part recurrent expenditure and development expenditure, and the total there too. I beg to move.
Yes.
Madam Chair, may I tell us the schedule we are talking about is schedule what? And what totals are you trying to refer to? The total of the entire budget vis-a-vis recurrent and development, or what? So, Mr. Chairman, I need to be helped to understand before I can move.
Madam Chair, the figures we have presented are the figures as supplied for appropriation, excluding statutory expenditure. We have not altered any figure. It is as supplied for both recurrent and development expenditure for those non-statutory agencies.
Honourable members, the question is that the figures supplied for recurrent and development expenditure do stand part of this bill. Those in favour say aye, the contrary no. Ayes have it.
The schedule as amended.
Put the question that schedule as amended do stand part of the bill. Those in favour say aye, the contrary no. Ayes have it.
Title.
Put the question the title do stand part of the bill. Those in favour say aye, the contrary no. Ayes have it.
Motion for the House to resume.
Minister.
Madam Chair, I beg to move that the House do resume and the committee of the whole House reports thereto.
Members, I put the question that the House do resume and the committee of the whole House report thereto. Those in favour say aye, the contrary no. Ayes have it.
Report of the Committee of the Whole House.
Minister, report.
Madam Speaker, I beg to report that the Committee of the whole House has considered the Appropriation Bill 2021 and passed it with amendments.
Motion for adoption.
Motion for adoption of the report of the Committee of the Whole House.
Madam Speaker, I beg to move that the report of the Committee of the whole House be adopted.
Members, question is that the report of the Committee of the whole House be adopted. Those in favour say aye, the contrary no. Ayes have it.
Bill's third reading, the Appropriation Bill 2021.
Minister.
Madam Speaker, I beg to move that the Appropriation Bill 2021 be read the third time and do pass.
Now, members, the question is that the Appropriation Bill 2021 be read for the third time and do pass. Those in favour say aye, the contrary no. Ayes have it.
A bill for an act entitled the Appropriations Act 2021.
Title settled. Bill passes.
Madam Speaker, I wanted to use this opportunity to thank you for the endurance and the spirit that we have put in this process to make sure that we pass the budget on time. I also want to thank the chairperson of the budget and members of the budget committee and all the members that have really been involved in this process. We thank you very much. We know it has been a very extraordinary COVID, then at the end of the parliament, so we do want to appreciate you very much. And want to mention that once again that the budget that we have appropriated today is aimed at transforming the lives of ordinary Ugandans, the people that we represent here. And one of the key things that we have put in this budget is the parish model. If we implemented in a phased manner, we would directly put money in the 3.2 million households who live in subsistence economy, and will strengthen our security and maintain peace and expand infrastructure and generate more energy, electricity, which is a catalyst for industrialization that we need to create jobs and wealth. And I want to pledge on behalf of government that every shilling that will be spent, we shall have value for it, and want to join you through your oversight committee to fight this cancer of corruption, and also to tell you, as I said in the morning, that we will ensure that our debt levels remain sustainable in the short term and in the long term. Thank you very much, colleagues.
Thank you. Honorable Rugorobi. Before the chair.
Right Honorable Speaker.
Chair, just a moment so that you can take care of my concerns.
Honorable Odul.
Yeah. Madam Speaker, thank you very much. Madam Speaker, I've reflected on the processes that we take to get to this stage. First of all, the Minister of Finance is very happy, but his ministry has been submitting some documents late. Madam Speaker, that explains why even the reports from the sectoral committees, we had to suspend the rules so that we allow the process to go. It would be very important that the Minister makes a commitment that going forward such things will not happen, because we missed a very important opportunity to reflect on that. Secondly, Madam Speaker, when we debate here and you read the mood of the House, how is that carried and reflected in the budget? I will take the example of today, and the Minister should really commit, because I know other processes will come. Honorable Bernard Atiku had raised a very important matter. We talked about the fate of the hospitals, but all that debate just went. And next time the Minister comes with any bill here, he should make a commitment, whether it's going to be a supplementary, that the issues that were raised in this House are reflected. Otherwise, it would not make any sense that members even comment, if at all that cannot be built in the budget. It would be very important that before the next budget process, the Minister commits to reporting on the matters that were raised here and how he has captured that in the next budget when it comes to this House. And I wanted the chair of the committee as well to take note, Madam Speaker. Thank you very much.
Okay. Honorable Minister first. Okay.
Madam Speaker, it is indeed proper that my colleague raises that issue. So what will happen that after this appropriation has been passed, we are going to look into the issues that have been put in the report of the Budget Committee, but also in the answer, the issues that were raised during the budget report, and they will form part and parcel of the planning processes for the budget of the coming financial year. But honorable colleague, just to also remind you that one of the British people, Shakespeare, once said that all is well that ends well. Madam Speaker, this process, whatever has happened in the process, all is well now that has ended well. So we should end at a very good note. Thank you.
Madam Speaker, the Minister is saying all has ended well. That's fine for him. And Madam Speaker, what Honorable Jonathan Odu has raised is very important. You see, one, the committees have reports. I would have been very happy that those reports of the committee were brought here and we asked them to be part and parcel of our answer. Because we never debated them, they did a lot of work and they should have been here. Because there are more information in those reports than the summary of the budget committee. Number two, Madam Speaker, it is not good for us to talk for a show. Sometimes it is better that when we come here, when we debate, issues must be discussed and come up to, it's not a win. There must always be a win-win situation, not one must win and another lose. Issues we have raised, they are very serious. And if they are not analyzed very well, they are going to make this same budget not perform. Because the same, if you are putting money in the same pit, it will die from the same pit. If we don't put systems in place, if we don't agree to a saying, and by the way, Honorable Bart, the Minister of Finance, you have the liberty. Now we have given you the total sum, which you are going to get one warrant. But you have the liberty to manage it in such a way that it performs. You can say, no, here's your, well, along the way, this is your money, but we're not going to release it according to this. We must have this certified first before we deal with this. You still have the liberty because you're the one in charge of the treasury. I hope you will come back. If you don't come, the one who will come will come and pick this answer and use it. Maybe he's listening already, because many of you are walking around positioning yourself to become the next Minister of Finance. But this, Madam Speaker, what I want to say, Parliament should be taken seriously. Because me, I came here thinking we're going to go vote by what? Vote. Then I saw the chairman coming up of the committee, and I saw things ending. I said, oh, then I wish I had gone home to sleep. So, Madam Speaker, I want to thank you.
Now, honour members, about the inability to discuss the committee reports, really, the Public Finance Management Act required us to reach this process by the 31st of May. But we cannot reach the 31st of May because the tenure of this House ends next week. So that is why we shortened the time. There was no time to... I am one of those who really like to listen to members, as you have seen. I want to listen to all the reports, pick up ideas from the members. So that's the reason why we could not have the... So it happened because it's the final session of the 10th Parliament. But having said that, Honourable Minister, there were some major issues, and I'm glad the Minister of Health is here. For instance, the issue of when will the old referral hospitals, that when you come to, when the Minister of Finance comes next year, they must be able to tell us, answer that. I think she should also answer the question of funding, which article raised, a number of other issues, so that the country knows that yes, you raise these issues, the government has picked them up, and will be able to address them. Okay, thank you very much. Yes, yes, Honourable Gorobi.
I have two issues, Madam Speaker. The first one is to add on what you just said and what Honourable Bahati said, that this budget process has two stages within Parliament. The first stage is when we get the budget framework paper. And the reason behind the budget framework paper is to ensure that if Parliament has any views, those views would be captured at that stage, then presented to government. And when they bring the estimates, we expect that government, to the extent possible, would have incorporated those proposals. So I think, in my opinion, a problem comes when a member begins to assume that he will make an amendment at the tail end of the process. When the process had started well back in January, at the submission of the budget framework paper to Parliament, that's when Honourable Atiku should have actually made that proposal. And the proposal would then have been processed through the system to provide for resources needed by those various cities. That's the stage when we expect, that's actually the essence of the budget framework paper coming to Parliament, to get the opportunity to make our proposals and amendments to the budget. Now, we need to seize that opportunity. But members sometimes forget, and I don't know whether they go at that particular time, but they are not available to articulate those issues. And they wait at the stage of appropriation when it is very difficult to change. That is the procedure. And I need you to appreciate that.
Madam Speaker, the purpose why rules exist and laws exist is that they should be applied. Rule 152 is about rules governing Committee of Supply when considering annual or supplementary estimates. And I'll read 152.2. When the House is in the Committee of Supply to consider annual or supplementary estimates, A, any member may move to reduce the amount of the vote of the estimate, and such a motion shall take the form, blah, blah, blah. It is not correct for this House to be misled that once we're in the Committee of Supply, a member cannot raise to adjust. Otherwise, these rules would not be applicable. So that should be taken care of. We should not be taken for granted even when we sit there and we let it pass. Like some of the provisions probably have passed today, it doesn't mean that members are not alive to these provisions of the rule. Otherwise, if it is now taken as a matter of abusing, that members are not understanding what is there, Madam Speaker, the spirit will not go well with us. These rules must be applied. The chairman cannot try to take advantage of the courtesy that the members have accorded to this budget process today. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for that information. Mine was just a piece of advice for the years I've been here, how to lobby for your constituencies and so on and so forth. It was advice, free advice. You can take it or leave it. I was simply telling you that coming to amend the bill at this stage, that the tail end of the process would be very complicated. I know the rules provide for it, but it's very complicated. It was just a piece of advice. You can take it or leave it.
Mr. Chairman, the budget process ends when appropriation is being done. And Mr. Chairman, you are right that we should read those budget framework papers. They will say that means of local government have indicative amount of this, but they will not come up clearly and say we have allocated Sironko district, Kapchora district, this amount of money. No, it's just indicative of the entire block. Two, it talks about the previous performances. And so, you as the planners of this country, who are now in power, you don't need 12 to 80 member parliament, then it comes to raise. If you're planning, you come up with a very good distributional mechanism. Arua this city, why are we giving you this? There's a mechanism applying, which somebody just plugs in and knows that he's entitled to this amount of money. But if we do numbers which are not backed up to the working papers, Mr. Chairman, you make mad things to assume it is those who are nearer who can get. That's why you are seeing members are raising Mbarara. They are raising Mbarara because they are assuming Mbarara is well favored because it is where the president comes from, is where Bahati comes from, is where. So these are the things. So these are things we want to say. No, I'm just helping you. I'm helping you. Not it's because that's why the members are raising. Oh, okay. That's the road which Bahati takes when he's going to Kabale.
Madam Speaker, is the former Secretary General of FDC in order to really disturb the peace of the House when we have reached the end and we have debated very well? This process has been wrong, to continue raising issues and mixing places when he was a man who believed in one Uganda and one people.
But Madam Speaker, I know today is very going to be difficult for your ruling. But if it's meaning the former General Secretary General, I'm still the current. That order is for another one, not mine. So, Madam Speaker.
Madam Speaker, I rose actually to express my appreciation to you in particular, and to the members of the Budget Committee, and to the entire House for the way you've been handling the reports of the committee originating from the Budget Committee. We really want to appreciate you very much and the House. You know, I believe that for the years I've been the chair of this committee with the members. We've done a great job, and I've not been alone. The members have always been there, and I want to inform this House that I've had very articulate members, experts in the field. In fact, they have been gurus. They have not let us down on the scrutiny of documents that have been presented to us. So I really want to thank those political parties that sent these members to the committee. You know, they have been very good members. We did not have a shortage of experts on the committee. We had all the experts that are needed to process the kind of documents we are required to deliver to this House. So, Madam Chair, Madam Speaker, I stood up to express my special appreciation to the members of this committee. A few of them are available and I just want to request them to stand up for recognition, because we have come to the end of the term. The Vice Chair could step in very easily without any problem whenever I was not around, and business could go on normally. So they have been a very elegant team, a very articulate team, and I really want to appreciate them. On the side of the opposition too, Honorable Cecilio Buharo, Mwanga Kivumbi, and others, you know, they have been very, very useful. As a team, we believe that we have worked so well for our country. Thank you so much for passing the bill, the appropriation bill 2021, and thank you so much all for your support.
Honorable Chair and members of the Budget Committee, and also the members of the House who have stood by the institution to ensure that our work is done. Thank you so much. Let's go to item 7.
Item 7, Bills second reading, the Inland Water Transport Bill 2020.
Minister of Works.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. We are really happy that you have given us this opportunity. I beg to move that the bill entitled the Inland Water Transport Bill 2020 be read for the second time.
Honourable members, is it seconded? Is the bill seconded? Seconded. Justification?
Madam Speaker, this bill is to provide regulation of inland water transport by providing for registration and licensing of vessels, provide for the safety of life and navigation on inland waters, provide for the prevention of pollution and protection of marine environment and marine security, provide for regulation of ports, and to repeal old laws like the Vessel Registration Act Cap 362, the Ferries Act Cap 355, the Inland Water Transport Control Act Cap 356, and Part 12 of the Uganda Railways Corporation Act Cap 331. Madam Speaker, the inland water transport sector is characterized by old laws and standards which require immediate review and harmonization. In addition, Madam Speaker, there are a number of things that have emerged since colonial times: the standard of operating procedures, the types of vessels, the new trends and dynamics in the water maritime transport management, the increased number of users, the increased accidents, and conduct of investigations. There is also the need to conform to regional and international conventions that Uganda is party to. Uganda acceded to the International Marine Organization Conventions, which compels state parties to comply with international standards for safety of lives, vessels, and environment. The bill seeks to domesticate these conventions through incorporation of these conventions. In the same vein, certain provisions of the Lake Victoria Transport Act 207 that were not yet operationalized have been operationalized in this bill. Madam Speaker, it is also important to note that there has been no established institution with clear functions to regulate and enforce safety measures on water transport in Uganda. The current laws have weak sanctions and penalties for offenders of the laws in maritime transport. Honorable Speaker and honorable members, this bill seeks to improve and harmonize the legislations in this subsector, taking into account the emerging trends and ensure that the law is sufficiently relevant to Uganda's development plans. Madam Speaker, I beg to move.
Thank you very much, Honourable Minister. I believe our committee had the opportunity to study the bill. Can we receive their report?
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Honorable members, this is a report of the Committee on Physical Infrastructure on the Inland Water Transport Bill 2020. Before I proceed, Madam Speaker, allow me to lay on table a report. Attached hereto are the minutes of the meetings that considered the bill. I beg to lay. Right Honorable Speaker, the Inland Water Transport Bill 2020 was read for the first time on the 25th of August 2020 and referred to the Committee on Physical Infrastructure and report back to the House in accordance to Rule 128 of our Rules of Procedure of Parliament of Uganda. The committee considered the bill and hereby reports back. Madam Speaker, the Minister having given the background of the bill, I will move straight to page 7 to briefly mention the object of the bill. The object of the bill is to provide regulation of inland water transport by providing registration and licensing of vessels, safety of life and navigation on inland waterways, the prevention of pollution and protection of the marine environment and marine security, regulation of ports, and Madam Speaker, repealing of Vessel Registration Act, Cap 356, the Ferries Act, Cap 355, the Inland Water Transport Control Act, Cap 356, Part 12 of the Uganda Railways Corporation Act, Cap 331, and to consolidate the law relating to shipping in Uganda and any other matters related to water transport. Madam Speaker, Part 4 of our report looks at the defects of the existing laws, and on the next page, page 8, how the bill addresses the defects in that very law. Madam Speaker, on page 9, we show the methodology and indeed the compliance of the bill with the human rights. Madam Speaker, honorable members, on page 10, we talk about the compliance with sustainable development goals. And on page 11, that's where we have the observations and recommendations. Madam Speaker, having talked about the short title, when you proceed to page 12, clause 4, 1b provides that this act applies to any vessel while in a port or place within the waters under the jurisdiction of Uganda, which implies that the bill applies to all waterways in Uganda. Madam Speaker, therefore the committee has no objection to the short title of the bill. In paragraph 9.2, we have definitions of terms used in the bill, and the committee recommends that clause 5 of the bill be amended to ensure clarity of the definitions and to define the key terms adopted in the bill that are not defined. 9.3 talks about streamlining maritime transport administration. The administration of water in Uganda is fragmented, with various agencies managing the subsector, namely the Department of Maritime Administration, established in 2016 under the Ministry of Works and Transport, which is responsible for regulation of water transport subsector, the Uganda Railways Corporation, which handles matters related to ports, and the Uganda National Roads Authority, which is responsible for the management of public ferries as an extension of the national road network. Madam Speaker, clause 6 and 7 of the bill therefore seek to consolidate all matters relating to maritime transport administration under the Department of Maritime Administration in the Ministry of Works and Transport, so as to strengthen water transport regulation, but also ease implementation and conform to the regional and international standards. On page 13, Madam Speaker, the committee observes that the water transport is the only subsector under the works and transport sector which is not regulated by an autonomous body established by an act of parliament, and this has greatly contributed to its underdevelopment. The ideal, therefore, would have been to establish an autonomous body whose sole responsibility is to deal with maritime-related matters, as in the case with the air, water, and rail transport subsectors, to promote efficiency and accountability in service delivery. However, Madam Speaker, the committee was informed that the establishment of an autonomous body is not feasible in view of the government policy against creation of new agencies and merger of existing ones to rationalize the use of public resources. Madam Speaker, that is why, as we seek to align with the Lake Victoria Act, the committee therefore agrees with clause 6, subclause 3 of the bill, since it just seeks to comply with the Uganda's obligations under the Lake Victoria Transport Act of 2007. 9.2, registration of vessels. Clause 9 of the bill provides that a person who intends to employ a vessel in the navigation on waters, on Uganda's waters, or fly Uganda's flag, shall, unless exempted by the minister, register the vessel with the Maritime Administration. The committee generally concurs with clause 9 of the bill. However, we are not comfortable with the words "unless exempted by the minister" appearing in that clause. Madam Speaker, the committee therefore recommends that the words "unless exempted by the minister" should be deleted. Clause 10 of the bill provides for the format of an application for registration and information that should accompany the application. Madam Speaker, the committee agrees, but it also notes that the requirement for life-saving appliances has not been included as a condition precedent for registration of the vessels, and yet several maritime deaths in Uganda have been attributed to the absence of life-saving jackets on vessels. Therefore, the committee recommends that Clause 9 should be amended to include life-saving appliances on the vessel and proof of payment of registration fees as part of the information that should accompany the application for registration, and to empower the minister to prescribe additional requirements for registration and as and when it arises. Madam Speaker, Clause 15 of the bill obliges Maritime Administration to maintain a register of the vessels and construction until the vessels under construction, it should be under, not and, until the construction of the vessel is complete. The committee proposes that Clause 15 should be amended to provide for issuance of a certificate of construction as proof of completion of construction to ease the enforcement. Madam Speaker, Clause 16 of the bill requires the owner of the vessel to submit the regulations certificate to Maritime Administration for examination annually. Therefore, our recommendation on page 15, the committee concurs with the provision as it seeks to ensure maritime safety by preventing unauthorized alterations or modifications on the certificate. As you may see, Clause 17 of the bill provides for change of ownership or master of the vessel. The committee notes that the provision does not safeguard the owner of the vessel in case of a fraudulent change of ownership of the vessel, and does not provide for fees for effecting the change, since Maritime Administration is required to issue a fresh certificate to the new owner. Our committee therefore recommends that Clause 17 be amended to require Maritime Administration to verify the change of ownership before issuing a new certificate, and to provide for payment of a fee for issuance of a new certificate of registration. Clause 20 of the bill prohibits a person from changing the name of the vessel or making major alterations or repairs that modify the structure, soundness, or characteristics of the registered vessel without the approval of the Maritime Administration. Madam Speaker, our recommendation on page 16, we just agree with that provision. In regard to licensing of vessels to carry on business, Clause 23 requires a person who intends to use the vessel for carriage of goods or passengers to apply to the Maritime Administration. The committee is in agreement, Madam Speaker. However, the committee notes that whereas the bill grants discretion to the Maritime Administration to grant or refuse to grant a license, it does not impose a corresponding obligation on the Maritime Administration to communicate the reasons for refusal to grant the license to an applicant. This is likely to result in the abuse of power and encourage arbitrary decision-making. The committee therefore recommends that Clause 27 should be amended to impose an obligation on the Maritime Administration to notify the applicant for a license in writing or the refusal and the reasons for the refusal within a specified time frame to ensure that the rules of natural justice are complied with in the decision making. Clause 30 provides for conditions attached to the license issued and imposes continuing obligations to the owner or master of the vessel. Madam Speaker, the committee concurs with that. Clause 34 provides for appeals to the minister against the decision of the Maritime Administration relating to the application, revocation, suspension, or variation of any of the conditions of the license. Madam Speaker, the committee recommends that Clause 34 should be amended to stipulate the time frame for consideration. Madam Speaker, on regulation of small vehicles, not vehicles, small vessels and vessels of traditional make, Madam Speaker, special attention should be accorded to the regulation of small vessels and vessels of traditional build to mitigate the occurrence of maritime accidents in Uganda on our navigable waters. So accordingly, Clause 35 of the bill empowers the minister to make such regulations, Madam Speaker. Whereas the committee agrees with that clause, it proposes that the regulations made by the minister should provide for the scope of operation and marking of the vessels to ensure comprehensive regulation of small vessels and vessels of traditional build. On page 18, Madam Speaker, Clause 36 to 87 of the bill provide for the engagement of crew members, including crew agreements, prohibition of employment of persons below 18, payment of wages, and others. The committee concurs because this will attract qualified and competent persons to serve on Ugandan vessels, thereby enhancing maritime safety and security. Madam Speaker, 9.13 talks about certificate of competence for members of the crew. 9.13 introduces logbooks which are to be kept on all vessels. In Clause 71 of the bill requires a registered and licensed vessel of 10 or more meters in length to have a logbook for navigation and the engine room. Madam Speaker, the logbook is for entry of events occurring on the vessel. The committee has no problem with that, for as long as there are some modifications made as per our recommendation on page 19. On page 20, Madam Speaker, 9.14 talks about manning of the vessel by competent officers. But we also note that Clause 90 of the bill empowers Maritime Administration to suspend or cancel a certificate of registration of the vessel or detain the vessel that sails without being manned by sufficient and competent crew as prescribed. It also introduces penalties for that. And when you continue to 9.16 on page 22, Madam Speaker, it talks about safety of navigation and prevention of collision. We also have provisions relating to load lines. That is our item 9.17. Item 9.18 talks about carriage of bulk cargo and dangerous goods, Madam Speaker. On page 24, 9.19, it introduces seaworthiness of vessels The committee recommends that the power to detain a vessel should lie with the minister on recommendation by the surveyor to guard against abuse of power, since the surveyor would be the compliant and the judge in the same cause. Madam Speaker, 9.2 talks about establishment, regulation, and the management of inland ports. Madam Speaker, the committee recommends that the functions of the Port Authority under this bill should be exercised by a port administrator appointed by the minister for the inland ports owned by government, since Uganda does not have a port authority. And also B, the entire Part 11 of the bill should be amended to ensure comprehensive provision for the management and administration of inland ports owned by government and by private persons. Madam Speaker, on page 25, 9.21 provides for wreck and salvage in case of an accident of a vessel. Also, page 26, we have provisions for prevention of pollution from vessels and also investigation into the maritime casualties. Page 27, Madam Speaker, 9.24 talks about offenses in the bill, and our recommendation as a committee is that the penalties should be increased to deter potential offenders from committing the crimes and to prevent recidivism. Madam Speaker, our general recommendation is that the Inland Water Transport Bill 2020 be passed into law subject to the following proposed amendment. The proposed amendments are attached to the report. Madam Speaker, I beg to move.
Thank you very much. The Chair of the Committee of Physical Infrastructure and the members of the committee for this great job. Honourable members, you have received the report. Are there any comments? Honourable Ogon? Honourable Abala?
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. You'll allow me first to thank the committee and also the chair. But particularly, let me come back and appreciate you, Madam Speaker, for the amount of work that you have put in making sure that we pass several bills. Everybody out there has felt it. I can tell you, even on the streets, people have said, yes, Parliament has worked. I sat around Sheraton and somebody came to me, the work rate in Parliament is so huge. Madam Speaker, we appreciate you. We don't take that for granted. Madam Speaker, the Committee on Agric has been handling the bill for fisheries, the fish bill. And I saw that there's a lot of relationship between this bill and the other one. The fact being that most times when people are dealing with the fisheries, they're also handling matters of transport. More so when we're talking about the smaller boats. And I saw a lot of similarities. I'm really sorry that I have not carried a copy of that report. I don't have my iPad. I've not been able to track the methodology to see whether the Ministry of Agriculture, Animal Industry and Fisheries was involved in this consultation, because I believe they're a major stakeholder. There are so many things. If you look at the use of BMUs, what they call the beach management units, for instance, Madam Speaker, in this bill, I heard the chair saying the minister will be appointing port administrators. But in the other fisheries bill, we are talking of beach management units or something of the sort. So there's likely going to be confusion because there are beaches, there are ports, the fisheries will meet with those who are under transportation, and I don't know what we are going to do. I thought since we are consolidating these bills, these laws, we need to be exhaustive in making sure that all those stakeholders who are major should be brought on board so that we don't make mistakes. Number two, Right Honourable Speaker, when we talk about licensing, away from the big transporters, vessels on the waters, when we talk about these common boats, already in the other bill, we are talking about licensing those people. So I wonder how many licenses people are going to have while on the waters. Because for the smaller ones, for instance, yes, we are going to produce regulations. If we are going to license them also, they are required in the other law to also have licenses. And one was asking, you are saying that we should be carrying these licenses on board. What about when it rains? Will you allow them to carry duplicates? So there are many questions. Madam Speaker, the issue of, since we are talking about safety on the waters, I have not heard in the bill any provision that is talking about having lifesavers, leave alone the, I don't know how to call it, the safety gear, but lifesavers, those who are trained in that work of saving people in the waters. Because I would be happy to hear that we have such provisions, so that in a case where the situation is not okay, at least there should be people who are able to dive in the waters and save some souls. I say so, Madam Speaker, because one time I tried also to get in a boat. I moved with some people, and then somebody took us up to where they told us that is the source of the Nile. For me, I can swim, I can enter there and come out alive. I said, what is this? So we need such people if we are really to be serious about comprehensive safety on the waters. I also want to thank Madam Speaker that we need to have some kind of quick response preparedness in terms of quick boats which are on standby, so that whenever there is anything wrong, they should be able to rush the scene as fast as possible and rescue the situation. Under the fisheries bill which is coming, I do not want to speculate, but they are trying to provide for training of those who are going to take care of the safety of the fishermen on the waters, and this training is going to be done by UPDF. That was the proposal. And I don't know how many of these we are going to have, because I felt that there are so many things that we yet need to harmonize. There is a difference, but I think there are some similarities somewhere. So, Madam Speaker, this bill is very necessary because I think it was in 2019 or 2018, you heard about the balancing of the boat issue. When a certain team left for, I think, a tour, and then the boat, I don't know what happened. That one reminds me about the issue of consulting the tourism sector. I don't know whether in this consultation chair and the team, you took trouble to consult with those in the tourism sector. Because it's not just about transport. People also go to the waters for tourism purposes. So I don't know whether you also took time to bring them on board, so that if we are talking about safety on the waters, it should be really comprehensively handled. Right Honourable Speaker, the aspect of insurance. I don't know whether this bill has thoroughly handled it, but I felt that for anybody who is also on board, vehicles have third-party insurance. What happens with the boats? What happens with these vessels, the big ones? Those people who are in ferries, I am not yet sure whether they have what? Third-party insurance, so that in the event of anything, compensations are done. And I thought, Madam Speaker, that will be very, very important. Madam Speaker, the issue of inspection of the vessels I felt is very, very important. Water transport, in my opinion, is one of those safe transport means, just like air. But once you have a problem, for you to survive is very, very, very difficult. And because of that, there must be a very tight mechanism of making sure that the facilities on the waters are worthy being on the waters. So what are we going to prescribe in this law to make sure that there's a periodical sort of inspection, roadworthiness, I mean waterworthiness of the vessels. So, Madam Speaker, I think the bill is timely, but my thinking was that we needed more consultation on this bill if we are to make it really comprehensive and thorough. That is my view. Otherwise, the bill has my blessing. But before I sit down, Right Honorable Speaker, we are in a community. The EAC is sharing the waters of Lake Victoria, for instance. And you will realize that there's a challenge with the foreign vessels. Leave alone the transport, the big transport vessels. Now when we talk about the normal boats, for instance, there are those that come from across. What are we going to do with those? Are we going to register them under Uganda? How are we going to manage? And then can we be able to draw the boundaries on the waters? How do we dissect and be able to tell that this is where Uganda ends, and then Kenya at the other side, or Tanzania at the other side? Most of the insecurity on the waters seems to be coming from outside our borders. So this bill should be able to handle that. And when you are handling this, maybe the ministers of East African community, those ministries should be involved in your consultation. I think it's very important. And then Foreign Affairs Ministry, because now we are dealing with the community. We are not just Uganda alone. We are in East Africa. I thank you, Right Honorable Speaker.
Thank you very much, Honorable Gon, Honorable Bala. The Honorable Anyero.
Madam Speaker, I want to thank the Minister for the Minister and the committee for this bill. You know, when we talk about the registration of vessels, this was very, very critical. I remember when there was a problem between this small lake called Nyaguo, between Angora and Palisa. It was difficult to identify the culprits who had killed two people from Angora. Very difficult. Because the canoes were there. So now they say so and so was the one who was rowing this one, so and so was the one rowing the other one. But now, when because at the time there was no law. But now when this law comes into effect, all of them will be demanded and to be registered. And from there, there's no way you're going to run away from the reality. Two, it is one way of streamlining such a sector, which is very critical if we are talking about development. Because now, look at like Lake Victoria here. Vessels from Kenya, from Tanzania, from other countries come to Uganda. But at the same time, I presume the other side, they have their own laws governing the waters, the vessels on the waters. And unfortunately for Uganda, we don't have a consolidated laws that manage some of these issues here. That could be where the problem is. But now by mere fact that now government has come up with this, I'm happy with now my government is talking, because this is one way in which we are sorting out many problems that are affecting our people. That's one, because like remember, it should be on the 24th of November 2018, in the cruise ship, whereby some people who were merrymaking in the lake, where some of them, about 29 or 30 people perished that time. Unfortunately, by the way, the state in which the vessel was very, very bad. And they were allowed to go. There were no safety measures, no standards had been set. But now this law here is going to set the standards. By the way, for you to be on our waters, this you must follow A, B, C, D, and you shall fulfill condition A, B, C, D, at the end of the day, the safety of Ugandans and our people will be guaranteed. But to leave people to travel the very way they are traveling, it's a problem. That's why you find on this Lake Victoria here, almost every month, more than 10 people are perishing on this Lake Victoria. And because now, there's no way you're going to enforce standards unless it's a law. That's why this law here is the... just a minute. This law is actually helping us, Madam Speaker, to sort out the other issues. Secondly, I'm about to finish. Secondly, they are saying there is no organ, no lawsuit, no way to manage it or to register the vessels. Now, this one is the way forward. They must be registered. If Arab businessmen are registering theirs, why are these people not registered, not being registered? That's why this law here will help us to come to some level. Because, like, for example, like my good minister, that's Honorable Bahati there, he's all the time talking about let's raise money as a way to develop Uganda. And he's not wrong, because now there are standards that is following. But the Ministry of Works has nothing to follow. One way of sorting this matter out is through this bill here. Madam Speaker, I am happy that the minister, we talk about consolidating the laws. Let's consolidate them. And in my opinion, Madam Speaker, now that this law is good, so like my brother here was saying, that we need to consult. We don't need to waste time now. We're under COVID. Number two, I'm sure the committee has done a wonderful job. Let us approve this law, and this will be one of the gifts that we shall be giving to our people who are using the waters in this country. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Honorable Daniero. Sorry,
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker.
Okay.
I would like to take this opportunity to thank the Honorable Minister and the committee for bringing up this bill, the Inland Water Transport Bill. It was really necessary and timely. First of all, about the safety of our lives. It is true, most of the times they are moving without the life jackets. But in Uganda, I realize that sometimes we make the laws and we don't implement them. For example, you find the border riders, they are carrying passengers when they are supposed to have the helmets, but you find only the one riding is the one with the helmet. So we hope when it is passed, and that they should make sure that every vessel should have enough life jackets for those people who will be on board. And then about the types of the vessels, Right Honorable Speaker, we have our local vessels which are not up to standard, and most of the time they are causing accidents. We hope this time there will be a standard measure put to make sure they are all in good condition. The registration is also good, especially for those waters which are bordering some places like Congo. Like in my place, Lake Albert is not always safe for us on part of insecurity. So when the vessels are registered, and these other local ones, it will help us as a country to know which bad people are coming into our country or which are the good ones. About the clause 4.1b, it has talked about all waterways in Uganda, and I'm happy about that. That is where I've brought in Lake Albert. So I know it is really going to be a good thing. However, Right Honorable Speaker, I have not heard about the traditional or those special vessels or in form of water ambulances which are supposed to ferry our patients who are referred, especially those people who stay across and who live around the islands. I thought it is also part of, it also concerns Ministry of Works and Transport. I agree with Honorable Cyrus about the rescuers. Most of the time it is UPDF which has come in to rescue our people when they get these accidents. So I recommend also that there should be special people who will be rescuing people when they are in danger all the time. I thank you so much, Right Honorable Speaker.
Thank you. Honourable members, we need to correct the record. That's Honourable Babungi, Josephine. That's Honourable Oseku. Is that Oseku? Yeah. Okay.
Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker. I'd like to thank the committee for the work they have done to scrutinize this bill. And on my part, I want to say, Madam Speaker, that we really need this law in place. It has been common knowledge that apart from the provisions of water transport by the National Roads Authority, this sector has been neglected so much. It has been, to whom may concerned. We have been having rudimentary, transport systems on the lakes, and this is the reason that we have suffered with a lot of losses, especially on the lives of the people. So I think this, for the first time, brings into light the regulation of water transport, which I believe will yield the results in improving the safety of the lives of the people on the waters. When we were at school, we used to know that water transport is one of the cheapest means of transport. And as a country, we are really blessed with the sizable, water bodies, and this connects all around our people. So with the regulation that will be able to attract people to use the waters, it means that transport costs are likely to be lowered. But also, Madam Speaker, as we pass this law, we really want to emphasize that safety is prioritized. Like I was saying, people have been using all sorts of methods to transport on the lakes. At one time, there was a lot of theft of motorcycles, and later on, when we went to discover, it was reported that people were stealing motorcycles and removing the engines to go and run boats as motor engines on the lakes. So it's very important that this law caters for the safety, especially giving specifications on the types of engines that are compatible on the waters. And for that matter, enforcement must be very strict. This report provides for the safety, but that enforcement department, in my view, is important. It's necessary. It's not just enough to provide for, they called it an administrator. But, Madam Speaker, that we put there an enforcement department to ensure that what has been provided on the law is followed. Lastly, Madam Speaker, I want to say that it is a bit expensive to invest in water transport, because the lifetime for example, an engine or a ferry on the lake is said to be lasting between 15 and 20 years. And after that, you cannot operate it anymore. So there will be need for the government, especially the Ministry of Transport, Works and Transport, to at least ensure that they amortize those people who invest in the water transport. Because at the end of the day, we don't want the lakes, the water bodies to have substandard type of transport facilities that are going to continue risking the lives of Ugandans. Otherwise, with those observations, Madam Speaker, I think this bill comes at the right time and in the right direction, and it will be a very welcome one, especially in as far as it is going to help to regulate water transport. And perhaps, before I forget, there is also a need for mapping for the routes, mapping the routes that the transporter should use in the water bodies, because there are hidden risks within the lakes, like rocks, where sometimes the water transport facilities may crash. So this study must be done, and then the routes are mapped, and this should be within the capability of the ministry to do, so as to ensure that there is total safety on the lakes. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Minister of Finance.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, and I want to thank the Minister for Transport for this bill. Madam Speaker, I can see many islanders, my fellow islanders are not here. I thought I should also add a voice in support of this bill and recommend this important bill to the House. One, I think, Madam Speaker, you know the place Lake Bunyonyi and other areas. Every month, we have been losing quite a number of people through that lake. And one of the things that we discussed at Cabinet, whether it's in this bill, I'm not quite sure, but we think that providing transport on the lake should be seen as infrastructure, like providing a road, like providing other means of transport for other parts of the country. So this particular piece of legislation, Madam Speaker, will help us to save lives when we organize the transport on the lakes, on the waters. We will save lives who have been dying, so many of them. Second, Madam Speaker, the bill also touches on training of Marines. And His Excellency the President authorized us to fund the University of Namasa.
Maritime University.
Maritime University, so that we can train the Marines on the lakes. People just come, like the way some of our friends in the border industry come. They come and they start a business. They start transporting people on the lake. That poses a risk to the lives of our people. So this bill comes to organize and arrange the transport on the lake. And also, the bill will help us to put rules and regulations, so that if you are going to have a boat on the lake, you need to have some standards. Those are the standards that have been lacking. So, Madam Speaker, on behalf of my fellow islanders, I want to commend this bill that should be passed and passed as soon as we can, so that we help in the management of transport on the lake, we help save the lives, but also set a tone and a platform where infrastructure like ferries on the lakes become part and parcel of infrastructure and should be provided for free, not on one lake, but on all lakes of Uganda. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Honourable Minister. Now, honourable members, this law is more than 100 years old. The present law, the ones we are going to repeal, were made on our behalf by the colonialists, so we did not have our own input into them. However, I also see that I do not see the members of the Choga Basin. I don't see members other than Josephine. I don't see the members of the Albertine Graben. I don't see the islanders from Buvuma and Karangara and so on. So I think we should continue this debate on Monday morning. Let's have more views. Also, there are areas where the Honorable Awgon talked about intersection between the fisheries law and this law. So let us give ourselves an opportunity to reflect further, and we shall resume on Monday morning.
Madam Speaker, about the issue of housing of this bill, I think I didn't pick the report well. I needed the chairperson to clarify on that, housing of the bill. Is it going to be autonomous? Are we going to, or we should have put this under the Ministry of Works, looking at our current policy trend where we are moving towards a merging what agencies? I needed to understand that one, which line we are towing.
But that one we are now doing in anticipation. Let us do the bill as it is. There's a minister who has brought this bill. We shall pass it to under that minister. If they are going to merge, whatever they're going to merge, that will be in the future. So, members, thank you so much. House adjourned to Monday at 10 o'clock.